Topic today is reawakening the mosque as a community hub, and the site is located in Abu Dhabi, UAE. When we talk about this project, we have to go back to the roots, where with the beginning of the religion, that is Islam, the idea of a mosque was not confined to a building. In the religion, you can actually pray anywhere in the world. The only criteria is that you have to face a certain direction, that is the direction of Makkah. And apart from that, a mosque was not merely a place of prayer. It was a place where it was a community center. It was a center for education. It was a focal point of the community. It was a place where the entire community could meet up and interact and discuss the various issues. It was a platform for social fund. So the idea is to identify architectural principles. Like usually when we speak about Islamic architecture, we have a typical stereotyped image that comes to mind, which is that maybe you consider a building having domes and arches, minarets as typically Islamic, but this might be superfluous. So the idea is to go deeper and delve into factors which create architecture that is more closer to the idea of the religion. And the thrust areas of this program that would be focused in this idea of a mosque would be, obviously the first one you can see is Abu Dhabi. My site is located in the heart of the city, and as you can see, it is a very dense cluster. It's a very dense urban neighborhood, and from what you can see, it's mostly, there are very few green spaces. The green spaces this is one major green space, but this is a private, this belongs to a private palace, so it's not accessible to the general public. There are promenades along the Corniche, but other than that, green space located close to the site, but it's a private, it's part of a private structure. And so the immediate neighborhood around the area is very urban in character. And another important, as you can see, these are views of the urban neighborhood. And another important part of the site is that the site is host to a fort. This fort was actually started as a watchtower in the year 1761 and was discovered in the city of Abu Dhabi. Before that, it was, so once fresh water was discovered, the city grew, and this fort is actually where the city originated from. And today, the city has actually spread over a lot of area, but the importance of the site is the fact that it is home to this 250-year-old fort too, even today. This is a neighborhood study showing the major arterial road networks and the sub-arterial roads. And as you can see, it is connected on all four sides by major roads. On the site, you can see this was a project that was previously there. It is not there. It was a cultural center. So I plan to incorporate that also into meters or higher. And in the next to that, in the other neighborhoods, it is 30 meters or lower. But immediately around the site, the buildings that you can see are really high-rise buildings, 20 stories or higher. Neighboring land use consists mostly of commercial areas. There are a few green spaces. The green patches are few, then it's a mix of office and residential buildings. This is the site marked in yellow is present-day Abu Dhabi city, and there is a possibility, according to Vision 2030, there is a possibility for UAE, the city of Abu Dhabi being extended to this larger area. So the importance of this project stems from the fact that UAE is not merely a Muslim country. Though 76% of the population is Muslims, there is a diverse population. There's a very cosmopolitan culture. So when introducing a project like this into the area, apart from just a mosque, an attempt has to be made. So the design program consists of a mosque along with educational, residential, cultural, retail, a youth center, and it all begins with the administration. And certain of these programs are noise generating in nature, and one challenge of the project is to create a space where the mosque would retain its sanctity and not be disturbed by the surrounding activities. So I've organized the activities into two groups. which create a lot of noise and generate a lot of activity, and the ones that are a bit more serene. So the mosque, educational, residential and administration are clubbed together, and the youth center, retail and cultural zones are clubbed apart, and these two are separated by an urban park. And the urban landscape the green landscape is introduced to create a space where the public can interact, because there is hardly any green space. So one of the initial conflicts that I had was resolving the hierarchy. There is already a fort on the structure in the 30-acre plot. So the idea was where to place a mosque, because the mosque would again be one of the main focal points. So how to place it in such a way that the importance of both is not lost and both maintain a character. And then the other 4 directions. But from my study, I concluded that these 2 are the major roads, and this would be used by people. And even people walking towards the mosque they would be able to access from all 4 sides, but this would be the area that would be most commonly used. So the mosque was placed in, the position of the mosque was located here. Geometric garden, and the rest of the area was patterned in a freeform manner. This is the view of the model. So this, as I've explained, is a mosque. The ground floor of the mosque is used for parking. There are 4 main access into the site. This is one main entry. This is the aerial view of the site, and the roof canopy, which is of space membrane structure, would have photovoltaic panels, which would again, since it's a very hot desert climate, it would be useful in model of the mosque, which shows this is a main mosque building, and it has a common courtyard, and here there is a separate area for females, which is and it has a landscaped area and water bodies.
You mostly discussed of how to orient the mosque and how the access to be kept, but your work is limited to only orientation of the mosque or design of other things also. See, other things, the geometries and whatever.
The retail blocks function.
Then educational block you are showing, whether those are classrooms or toilets or what. In the residential block you are showing, like residential block is very important. Maximum time they may be spending there. Block can come here and cultural block can go there.
No, I placed the cultural
So what
block.
is the reason why it is there?
Yeah, I placed it there. One thing to keep it apart from here, but even this
Replace library, why not?
because this was part.
Because I
of
don't find any much identity in the space. Like that space is also very irregular. Whatever that green.
Yeah, zoom out.
Yeah.
You can stop here. Go back. Yeah. Go back. Yeah. With all the questions that Professor Suresh had that you need to rework on and work on, I must really congratulate you for having a very sensitive approach to this whole project in the way that you handled, understood your surrounding, the way you understood the existing location of a fort, the surrounding grid pattern, and the relationship of functions, and then somehow not allowing those functions to become monolith blocks, and using architectural means of views and corridors and shade, hopefully, which I think needs to be further worked on, that you cut up those blocks in certain patterns which could allow a certain medieval sense of block making of the city pattern.
Yeah, I think clearly the thing is that, first of all, as far as the big moves are concerned, I would agree with Surya that you have a certain understanding of the place, and that has come out very clearly. That you seem to understand the city, you seem to understand how certain buildings can be enveloped. That's where I would put it in this system. Now, you have walked till the envelope. That's it. That's where you have ended. And that's why Professor Shirish has been so critical with you about your buildings. Even the way you cover the space, what you're talking about, okay, it actually, you go back to the image of the fort. You showed me the image of the fort. Okay, like look at the fort, like you showed a picture of the fort.
We come to the next participant, Shahnaz, whether you. Before Shahnaz can begin, we have to look at the second name on the list. Shriram. Center for Advanced Scientific Research at Chennai. No? Yes. He did not come. So that brings us to the last participant. Shahnaz will be the last presenter of the day. Ready?
Okay. Today, luxury seems to be the order of the day, be it a restaurant or a hotel, or even a kitchen or a residence or anything for that matter. So, what I'm Hello? What I'm going to present here today is my thesis on luxury housing. Now, what is luxury? What comes to your mind? Immediately when you think of luxury and a house, I'm sure you think of lush interiors and large expanses of space and sprawling gardens. But that's not all what luxury is. Luxury could be just a view from a window, or a comfortable bed, or the amenities provided, or just a sense of security you feel in your own home. Or it could just be the feeling you get when you sit on your own poolside deck. So, the site is located in Whitefield in Bangalore. That's the site. And it has the Foodie Lake. That's the water body there. Now, these are the pictures of the road from the junction leading up to the site. Now, this is a picture of the site, and this is the water body in front of it. That's the water body. And there seems to be a lot of landscape around the site at the moment. So, the site is around 24 acres, and I've zoned it in such a way. Okay, now this project has villas, which are horizontal structures, which are just on the ground, and I have apartments, which are towers. And I've located my clubhouse there so that the entire settlement can get a view of the lake. Now, how I've zoned it is the villas are towards this part, so that they get a view of the lake. At least most part of them get a view of the lake. And the apartments are here. These are anyway tall structures. So they get the view of the lake and the landscape around. So I've located them on the side, mainly based on the view that they get. And the row houses here, the ones in blue, that's the least preferred. So I've located them to this side, and the services are mainly here. And the main roads are here. Yeah, that's the main road side. This is the site plan. This is where I enter the site. And these are the villas. The villas are three types, Villa A, B, C. And the apartments are, there are 3 towers here and 3 towers here. So once I drive into the site, I have these little clusters that I've created for each of the villas. Now, these villas, let's take this villa for example. These form a cluster, they have their own open spaces. Apart from the landscape, they get their own constricted space. So what happens is, if there are children playing or if you just want to hang around, you get your own play area, you get your own open space there to gather and interact, whereas you have your own privacy in your plot. Like that, I have around 9 clusters. So what happens is, once you drive, if you drive in through this, I have these junctions, or you could call them cul-de-sacs because they don't really end in anything. You can always take a turn and go back, and they're all two-way driveways. All of them are two-way driveways. So what happens is, once you drive in and you go wherever, if you're a pedestrian and you know exactly where to go, you can just enter. And the main vehicular roads are along these, whereas the white you can see at the edges are the walkways. So you can actually walk all around the site, and only if you had to cross from one sector to another along the main axis, you have to cut the vehicular roads. The same thing with the apartments. You drive in. This part is where you enter, and I've organized it in such a way that if you are a guest, once you enter, you have the foyer, and you have a formal living here, and a guest bedroom, and a common bathroom there. So that part is segregated. Then you come down, and then you have all your private activities where you have your dining room, kitchen, utility, all that happening there, and then you have your own family room, which overlooks the pool. And this formal living has windows, but not exactly ones which overlook the pool. So if someone was in the pool and a guest was to come, they would still have privacy. I have a gym right here, which again overlooks the pool and is close to the family room as well, and a jacuzzi there. Now once you come up, the master bedroom and children's bedrooms are upstairs, and there's another family room on top. And a balcony, and it overlooks the pool, and that's a section. And the kind of language that followed throughout the project is modernism, and it's contemporary, and so it just got recesses and projections, but they're mostly a view of the water body. This is a very similar villa, but it just differs in the number of bedrooms and all that. These are the two sections and the two elevations. One is the front elevation is what you see from the road, and the other elevation is what you see from the side of the deck. This is villa type C, where it's just one level, it's just one floor, but I've got split levels. This again, I had to keep the formal living and the same bedroom and bathroom on one floor, so that if you didn't want to climb down, and if there's someone who was physically not possible, someone who couldn't do that, they could use these spaces. And once you come down these steps here, you have your dining, which overlooks the deck and a small pool. You can't exactly call it a swimming pool, it's just a water body. You have your master bedroom here, and children's bedroom, and kitchen, family room. So that is the section. Once you come here, you just have to climb down a couple of steps. You have your dining, and then you have the deck, and the pool is beyond that, which you can't see. It's beyond this. Now the apartments have two types. Okay, the main thing is that on one floor, in any apartment, there's only one apartment. It's one apartment to a floor. And in the duplex, it's one duplex to a floor. So I'm going to talk about the single level apartments first. So what I try to do in the apartments is to give them a lot of green space and a lot of balcony and decks, because what you miss in an apartment would be that open, that green spaces and your gardens and all that. So what I've done is I've given them decks and green spaces or balconies, which keep alternating, so that I get a sort of So this is the first one. Again, you enter the core and meeting, and you get a sort of view. This is an interior view of the kitchen of the apartment. This is the parking. So I have 3 towers. That's it. So I have 3 towers of a single level apartment. I have 3 towers. Those are 1, 2, 3. And one side. This is the section, and this is the front elevation. This is a similar thing for the duplex as well. I have towers and the parking and how you walk. Not every alternate, every alternate duplex gets a pool. So what happens is, because I have a living area here and I get the double height, I get the depth of the pool, that's 1.2 meters, and the structure that leads to the pool. And the pool is cantilevered by around 1.2 meters. And you don't exactly see people swimming, but you will see people on the deck. And I've divided it into two. This side has the restaurant and the party area. And for the party area, you drive in through this, and the party area has its own parking, if you can see it. This is just a blow up of this. Just I've shown it with the parking and the play area. So once you enter, you have the parking area here. Party area here. And the party area shares the kitchen with the restaurant. So there's that kitchen which services both. Only in the time of need, for the party area, you need to use the kitchen. So I thought it's pointless to give another kitchen for that. And for a party area, you need a large kitchen. So that's why I did that. And the service for the kitchen happens directly from the parking. So once you drive in, if you're a service vehicle, you will come here, stop here. Through the service yard, you access the kitchen. Now, if you were someone going to use the pool, you come in here, and then once you climb down, once you get onto the deck, you have to climb down to go to the changing rooms. So men and women, you climb down and you go to your changing rooms, water body and the deck in the view play. And this is a view of the apartment in the view place, and these are the swimming pools.
Concluded that so many people having so many requirements are going to prefer this kind of way of living, like everything subdivided into smaller plots, so many row houses, so many flats. Whether this brief was worked out or it was given to you, like.
It's a bit of both. It's a live project. So the values have changed a little. It actually caters to, happens in a live project.
How do you inferred
It's
this kind of, for example, bungalow here? Why did you think of combining all open spaces at one point and would have had one continuous monolithic structure which multiplies and they can